Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of The Millionaire Next Door, The Surprising Secrets of America's Wealthy, by Thomas Stanley. When you think of the lifestyle of the rich and famous, what comes to mind? What do you see? For the most part, we have the impression that millionaires are extravagant consumers who purchase high-end designer goods and spend their money with reckless abandon. In his book, The Millionaire Next Door, author Michael Lewis attempts to dispel common misconceptions about the wealthier segment of society, and he reveals that many of us are misinformed about what it means to be wealthy. The authors conducted extensive research into the profiles of the wealthy and provide valuable insights into achieving financial independence. The vast majority of America's wealthy do not live the high life of Hollywood, do not wear designer sunglasses, and do not have a garage full of expensive cars. The typical American millionaire, on the other hand, lives a relatively modest life in a middle-class suburb. They might even be your next-door neighbor. The authors, Thomas Stanley and William Danko, debunk the myths about the millionaire lifestyle and provide us with a more accurate, yet surprising portrait of the average American millionaire in their book, The Millionaire Next Door. Many of us have no idea what goes on behind the scenes in a wealthy family's finances. A further point is that the advertising industry, the music industry, and Hollywood have all done an outstanding job of convincing us that wealth and excessive consumption are inextricably linked. However, this is simply not the case. As the most comprehensive study ever conducted on America's millionaires, this book is a valuable resource for learning about who they are and how they became so prosperous. During the course of their investigation, the authors met with over 500 millionaires in person. Their research included throwing a penthouse party and inviting the typical millionaire next-door types to attend. They then interviewed them about their journey to wealth as part of the research process. There were some noteworthy observations made by the authors. For example, not a single person placed an order for any delicacies or drank the most expensive wine on the menu. The crackers were the only thing they ate during their stay. Many were also underdressed for the occasion, opting for well-worn suits instead of new ones. This realization serves as the foundation for this book, as it demonstrates that the millionaire next door is typically described as being frugal. This summary takes us through the process of wealth management and achieving financial independence in a concise manner. The advice of two renowned social scientists who have been studying the habits of affluent people for more than 3 decades is an excellent place to start if you're curious about what it takes to be truly wealthy. In this book, the authors deconstruct the millionaire next door persona, his or her financial practices, and what we can take away from having a frugal mindset in our own lives. At the end of the day, the average millionaire leads a simple life and spends his or her money wisely. You might wonder why they would be so frugal given all of the money they have at their disposal. Millionaires achieve and maintain their wealth primarily through careful planning and management of their expenditures. Furthermore, if you have children and you want to ensure that they have financial independence, this book provides invaluable guidance on the importance of raising a financially savvy generation of young people. Live within your means, save on a consistent basis, and invest wisely. In the world of money, there is a popular saying that goes something like this: the first generation earns money, the second generation builds on it, and the third generation blows it all. Millionaires who live next door are generally content with their lifestyle. They live within their means, preferring to save rather than spend whenever possible. As the title of the book implies, the average millionaire does not reside in Beverly Hills or in a mansion on Park Lane in London. Professor of mathematics John Robin of Harvard University claims that approximately half of America's millionaires do not reside in affluent neighborhoods. As a result, they prefer to live in modest housing and middle-class neighborhoods. It was discovered through these millionaire studies that they were extremely satisfied with their lifestyles. 90% of millionaires who live in homes valued at less than $300,000 are extremely content with their lives, according to a recent survey. One of the most important steps toward financial independence is to live below your means. One of the book's research subjects, a qualified engineer, revealed to the authors that she is extremely frugal in her spending. Following graduation from college, she and her husband both landed good jobs, but they made the decision to live on one income while saving the other. Every time they received a raise in salary, they were able to put more money aside. They have been in their modest 1,900 square foot home for 20 years, and they have no plans to relocate. She's also teaching her children about the importance of saving money. Who occasionally inquire as to whether or not they are poor because their parents sometimes force them to order from the $1 value menu. The millionaires that the authors spoke with are frequently well versed in the field of investing. It is not only about putting your money into the stock market or buying expensive real estate. The typical millionaire they profiled had no more than 30% of his or her wealth invested in publicly traded stocks, according to the study. The majority of them believe that true diversification comes from having complete control over one's investments, rather than investing in stocks and property. Many millionaires are cautious when it comes to investing in the stock market. They generally believed that they had greater control over private investments than they did. For example, money lent to private parties and the ownership of their businesses are both examples of entrepreneurship. It's interesting to note that 80 to 85% of millionaires are self-made. They're not your typical trust fund babies, and the vast majority of them have built and amassed their own fortune. This concept of wealth accumulation is critical because it brings you one step closer to achieving the highly sought-after financial freedom. The average self-made millionaire places a high value on financial freedom and independence from outside sources. Despite the fact that they are budget-conscious, investment-savvy, and self-made, these individuals also have a positive attitude toward the accumulation of wealth. They have a genuine passion for what they do and take pleasure in the process of accumulating wealth. Save your money, don't spend it. It is not always the case that people who appear to be wealthy actually have the type of wealth we would expect. These types of people, the big hat, no cattle types of people, place a higher value on appearances than on substance. The average millionaire next door prefers to save rather than spend his or her money. The advice from all of the case studies emphasizes financial independence rather than ostentatious wealth as the most important goal. Rather than succumbing to the lure of conspicuous consumption, the goal is to work towards financial independence. The advantage of taking this approach is that, in the event of an unexpected crisis or if we become unemployed, we would have saved enough money to maintain our current standard of living for the foreseeable future. Individuals fall into two categories: those who spend their money and those who save their money with the intention of building their wealth. The first category consists of prodigious wealth accumulators, such as the millionaire next door. The second type of person is a person who does not accumulate wealth. To become a prodigious accumulator, we must build wealth efficiently, utilize our time wisely, budget, live within our means, and invest with caution. Which of the following describes your current attitude toward your credit or debit card situation? Because we live paycheck to paycheck, many of us are under-accumulators in our financial lives. Many of us are likely to be spenders who do not adhere to financial plans or make wise investments. Many of us are also victims of impulse purchases that deplete our financial resources. If you already have wealth, building on that foundation is simple. But what happens when you earn a modest income and want to grow your wealth? Income versus wealth, what's the difference? There is an important distinction to be made here, and that is that your income is determined by your earnings, whereas your wealth is determined by your accumulation. We must put our net worth into context by taking into consideration factors such as our age and income bracket. This contextualization aids us in determining whether or not we are as wealthy as we should be based on our current circumstances. In order to calculate our wealth, we use a simple formula: multiply your age by your annual pre-tax income, and then divide that number by 10 to get our net worth. Now consider the case of a 60-year-old physician who earns $560,000 per year. In terms of net worth, he has $1 million. Because he has a net worth of slightly more than $1 million, we might assume he is wealthy. However, in relation to his age and income bracket, his net worth should be significantly higher. If you plug those numbers into the wealth formula, he should have a net worth of more than $3 million, according to the calculations. This formula is useful because it informs us that he is an under-accumulator who leads a high-consumption lifestyle, and that, in comparison to his age and income bracket, he is not particularly wealthy. As an example, the combined annual income of a 40-year-old police officer and his wife who works as a secretary is $50,000 per year. Spending is kept to a minimum, savings is kept to a minimum, investments are made strategically, and their net worth is $460,000. We can calculate their expected net worth for this age and income category by applying the formula to these numbers. Their expected net worth for this age and income category is $200,000. As a result, they are wealthy accumulators due to the fact that their net worth is higher than the average. If your net worth exceeds your income and age bracket, you are doing well as a wealth accumulator, you are increasing your wealth and are well on your way to becoming wealthy, according to the key message. If this is the case, you are spending more money than you should be, and you should make changes. Interestingly, millionaires share a number of other characteristics with one another. The millionaire next door is budget conscious and sets long-term financial goals for himself and his family. Not many people are aware of the fact that 62% of millionaires next door evaluate their expenses and adhere to monthly budgets. The majority of underaccumulators, on the other hand, are completely unaware of how much their consumer-oriented lifestyles are costing them. Spending less time worrying about the status quo allows millionaires next door to devote more time to making sound financial decisions. They are goal-oriented and think in terms of the long term. For example, when it comes to automobiles, the majority of people do not drive the most recent luxury models. Instead, they take the time to look for a used car that has been well cared for in the past. They avoid loan repayments and instead pay cash for their automobile purchases. Instead of accumulating material possessions and spending money on frivolities, their ultimate goal is financial independence. They want to be able to enjoy life while also having financial security in retirement. Furthermore, they are motivated by the prospect of reaping the long-term benefits of achieving financial freedom. We should think about what long-term goals we have in mind that could motivate us to live more frugally now. The millionaire next door identifies market opportunities and selects the most appropriate profession for him or herself. Did you know that self-made millionaires account for 80% of all millionaires in the world? Furthermore, you might find the majority of their small businesses to be rather dull. Their businesses frequently provide necessities such as food and shelter. As a result, they are not overly vulnerable to economic downturns. While the job may appear to be monotonous, the money and job security are frequently significant motivators. However, this does not imply that you must be an entrepreneur in order to amass significant wealth. In the many interviews with self-made millionaires, one thing that they all have in common is that they chose a profession in which their skills and services are in high demand. The millionaire next door is more likely than the average person to avoid spending money on cost-effective outpatient care. Was it ever brought to your attention that more than 46% of wealthy Americans support their adult children and grandchildren? Millionaires next door are conscious of the amount of money they give their children as gifts. Rich Americans give an average of $15,000 in financial gifts to their children or grandchildren each year, according to the Pew Research Center. 1 in every 5 of these children is in their 30s, 40s, or 50s. Furthermore, 61% of respondents gave forgiveness loans to their relatives, indicating that they did not expect to be reimbursed for the money. 59% of respondents assisted their children in the purchase of new homes, and 43% contributed to the tuition costs of their grandchildren's private schools. Despite the fact that it appears to be excellent parenting, these gifts have a tendency to create dependency. While the money does assist their children in establishing themselves, these gifts are often given for years or even decades at a time. As a result, parents who provide financial assistance to their children and grandchildren have significantly less wealth than their counterparts in the same income bracket. The point is to avoid using economic outpatient care because it reduces your financial security as well as the financial independence of your child and other family members. Children who receive government assistance are more likely to be underaccumulators. In other words, the greater the amount of money they receive, the less money they accumulate. These gifts or handouts frequently result in increased consumption, as they encourage recipients to spend more in order to maintain their high-status lifestyle. Children frequently develop a sense of entitlement to their parents' wealth, and they rely on credit to make up for any shortfalls while they wait for gifts to arrive. All of this, of course, results in a vicious cycle of dependency. Successful children from wealthy families are less likely than other children to receive cash gifts from their parents. The values of frugality, discipline, and independence have also been instilled in them by their mothers and fathers. The idea is to teach your children how to invest well and to spend wisely. Finally, I'd like to say, we would all like to be financially independent and have the freedom to pursue our dreams. We don't want to have to be concerned about our financial future. We must engage with our finances rather than simply ignoring them and hoping for the best. Because money is a significant source of stress and anxiety, we must engage with our finances rather than simply ignoring them and hoping for the best. With the tools and advice in this book, we will be able to better manage and understand our personal finances and economic situations in the future. The authors demonstrate, through a large number of case studies and extensive research, what the majority of millionaires have in common with one another. The message is that if we apply some of these lessons and values to our reactions to our finances and spending habits, we will be in a better financial position. Furthermore, it asks us to rethink our conception of wealth and adhere to a few simple guidelines in order to achieve the same level of financial independence that many millionaires have. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.